This is Rudo Radio coming to you from the 559.
Hello and welcome to Rudo Radio, Cage Side Seats and SB Nation's wrestling podcast. I am here, as always, with Mark Normandin. Mark, how are you?
Hello. Tired from lots of wrestling. Not that it was, tiring to watch said wrestling. It's just, I don't know, felt like a lot of wrestling. It might also be because I had friends over on Saturday and was up until 1 a.m. and then woke up to get breakfast early. So.
Wow, a life of adventure. I haven't other than editing this podcast because I nap in between. The latest I've stayed up in the past 6 months is 10:30, like a hard 10:30, and I was basically dead after. So the idea of staying up to 1 frightens me in a very real way.
I had Smash Brothers to play. So there were things to do.
I should have assumed the Smash Brothers was implied. There's not good news. There's not bad news. There's just big news for the big dog.
Let's not call him that.
That was the only time I'm going to call him that.
That sounds like a terrible T-shirt that he has had once upon a time. He's like the big dog, big dog's yard, and then They did one printing of it, and then they were like, you know what we should do? Replace that with a less terrible shirt.
Well, also, they probably were going to get sued by Big Dog, the T-shirt company.
Maybe. I don't know. John Cena got away with the PBR shirt.
Yeah, I wonder what happened with that. But before we get to that, we should get to the fact that Roman Reigns has been suspended for 30 days for his first violation of the wellness policy. I thought we had no news to talk about, and you were like, oh, no. No.
It was literally during that conversation, you're like, okay, so we don't have news, so what should we do? And it's like, this literally just was posted by WWE. How about that?
I was surprised, though I had heard scuttlebutt around I swear to you, I had a friend tell me multiple times yesterday, and when I said, oh, yeah, ha, he was like, no, seriously, something is going to happen. And then it happened. So either this friend is clairvoyant, or this was scuttlebutt somewhere. But I was not shocked, but I was definitely surprised by it.
I just assume every one of those rumors is like the my uncle works at Nintendo kind of rumor, so I don't pay attention. No matter how plausible or how good the timing is or whatever, I never really listen to it. But maybe this is one of those times where they did know, because apparently Dave Meltzer said on his reaction podcast, I think.
Reaction cast.
Yeah, the WWE knew before Money in the Bank that this happened. But it's not clear, did they know 2 hours before it happened? Did they know Friday? Did they know Monday? Were they already planning to have Ambrose win by cashing in? That's something they teased on Monday. So kind of a lot to digest there in terms of when they might have found out.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with finding out when they found out, not finding out when they found out, but having a better idea of when they found out, is that, like you said, it would fundamentally change the entire narrative of this past week and a half. And it's a thing we talked about. We were originally we're going to talk about these things about it, the things that interest us. And number one was, when did they find out? Did they know beforehand? The idea that they definitely knew beforehand and went with it the way they did both makes sense and is kind of surprising, not so much Sunday, but Monday.
Yeah, it makes sense, and also makes no goddamn sense at all. Which is weird, but I'm not sure that Ambrose cashing in and winning and now being the champion has anything to do with Roman's suspension. But I only say this as someone who thought before they were even teasing it on Monday as in before that the go home for Money in the Bank, that Ambrose had a really great shot at winning Money in the Bank, and then maybe cashing in, if he didn't cash in right then, was going to cash in shortly to set up the Shield triple threat. Like, this has felt like the most obvious thing to do once Seth came back, with Roman as champion. Like, outside of any, like, is Roman a successful champion, or like, are they selling tickets to house shows? Should it actually be like, even without any of that discussion, it's just like, oh, it makes sense for that to be Dean's time and to Dean to win via cash in, because it creates this extra level of like drama around the whole thing where, Roman could be upset that Dean cashed in on him, or he could be kind of upset that Dean cut in line, but not, upset. Just, it just adds these other layers to it. So it's a thing that can exist outside of Roman's suspension. But it could also be the thing that like got them to hotshot everything.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking, is that not necessarily they hotshot it, but the way they constructed the essentially clean loss. Like I G-chatted you during my watching of the main event because I fell asleep, like I said, before the main event.
Back to your 10:30 bedtime thing, yeah.
So I watched it the next day, and I G-chatted you like that was a perfect ref bump. It was perfect. If you're going to do the title change ref bump, which is what that was, that is unequivocally the best way to do it. You have it be the guy who ends up losing's fault, and it's literally like it's a split second difference between him winning and him not winning, and that's the amount of time the ref is down. Like, Kyoto wasn't down for more than 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds were all that mattered, and I thought that was a really good way to do it, just so Roman could be like, oh, I should have had you, if not even for the Dean Ambrose thing after. The fact that they then had the Dean Ambrose thing and had him lose clean after 2 pedigrees, the first of which should have been the finisher.
I thought about that. My initial thought was that was so badass, countering a spear with a pedigree, that it should have been the finish, but he didn't hit it all the way.
Yes, that is.
It was like a half pedigree, so getting most of the way there with a count, but needing to hit him with a full one, that makes sense.
Yeah. I thought that was I love his counters, or being countered into things, like the running up Randy Orton RKO, like all of those.
Oh, that was so great.
He's so athletic that you can just have him fall. I can't wait for him in a match with Big E where he does like a Phoenix splash into the big ending.
Be amazing.
But yeah, I thought the match was, and I said this to you, and I think, is there anything you want to talk about in particular before we get into the pay-per-view regarding Roman Reigns, like what this means, or do you think we can cover that?
I am very curious about what happens to the main event of Battleground now.
Because the suspension will be over.
Yeah, the suspension will be over, but what are you going to do for the next few weeks on television, where you're, because they never talk about wellness violations on television. There was no taking him off for injury. Also, this was super high profile with SportsCenter reporting it too. So like, are you gonna just be like, Roman's sad, he'll be back in 30 days, I bet though. So what do you do build wise? I
think okay, so the dynamic changes because outlets like ESPN have reported it as legitimate news. I think what ends up happening is you kind of have to, for the first time, lean into it, especially because they don't always go to Twitter, but he tweeted about it. So yeah. You basically bury him for a month as a Punk if you're Rollins, and don't really say anything if you're Ambrose. I feel like that's the way to go. Is you basically have one guy bury him and one guy not defend him, and then you have him in the match. I think he takes the pin as punishment. I hope that it still happens, though. I think this would be a very bad reason to not have this match, because it's not like, I understand it's a wellness violation, so he broke the rules of his agreement with the company, but it's not as serious as something like what happened with Jerry Lawler. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. There's no moral imperative to make sure he doesn't.
Well, I don't know. You have a concern to the other guys in the company. who are not just going to be thrust back into the main event if they have this happen to them. You're not really. It's probably not good for the locker room. But I think if for the purposes of we need to get this match in for these other guys too, and to tell this story, especially because there's a good chance that like the three of them will not be on the same show when the draft happens. It's not a guarantee, but it's very possible that, Rollins and Ambrose are on one, especially like with the way things are going now, and Reigns is on the other, regardless of which it is. So you kind of have to do this Shield triple threat like now, which would also explain why they're like, okay, we're still going to set up this triple threat even though you're going to be gone for a month.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is I think if you say, and I think that it's a different era with that too, because you can have Triple H go to the boys and say, listen, this is what we're doing. He's gonna have to deal with the consequences after this match, but this is a money match. We need him in it. He's gonna take the job. He's gonna do the job. Like, I think it's different than if Vince comes and says it. I think they'll do mediation.
I mean, maybe the punishment after the suspension is, won't be in a SummerSlam main event, or I don't know. Maybe the punishment is the suspension, which is fine. You served your time. I don't want to speculate about what he took or how he took it either. But
of course, yeah,
if he's still in the main event for Battleground, I'm also thinking like this might have been one of those cases where like he took something that was part of a supplement he thought was fine.
Yeah.
But like you're still punished. Because like baseball does that, and sometimes they'll work with guys and they'll reduce the suspension. The wrestlers don't have a union, so like no one's going to negotiate on their behalf. So it's entirely possible that like just deal with the suspension now and don't fight it, and you'll be back for Battleground was as good as a deal as he could get.
Which, there are worse things.
Imagine if you tried to fight it for a while or whatever, and then you miss Battleground and you're drafted 2 weeks after you return, you return 2 weeks after the draft, and
and you're drafted to OVW.
But yeah, so I don't, no idea what he took or anything, and even like that's just the idea that will be in my head. It's not, no way of proving it.
We do know what he didn't take, which was marijuana, because you actually showed me the wellness policy.
I mean, that was my interpretation of the wellness policy, was that like you get fined for weed, and it's not a like suspension. It's just you are fined.
Yeah, and not like a relatively nominal amount of money. I was genuinely
probably depends on where you are on the card.
Yeah, but speaking of cards. Yes, the first edition of the day. Well, I guess we wanted to start because we're talking about Roman and Seth and what it means for Battleground at the end of the beginning of the end, which was the main event, Seth versus Roman, which was, of course, spoiler alert, capstoned by Dean Ambrose cashing in on Seth after Seth had beat Roman clean, which, as we just discussed, is surprising in the sense that they usually don't have a face champion, though I think that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, let's start with that. So Seth's gear was gray, and it was new, and it represents shades of gray. I don't know if it actually does, but you like the whole like dress for the job you want or whatever.
Yeah.
So the guys come out in the gold.
Power Ranger, gray Power Ranger.
But so he came out in his gear usually has meanings. He came out in that. I love when he came out in the white. That was amazing.
CrossFit Jesus, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so he comes out in gray this time, and I just was kind of laughing to myself like, oh, that's funny. The tweener's dressed in gray.
He's back in a way that I was very happy with.
He was Seth, and it was really good.
I knew how much I missed that dude, but I had forgotten what it felt like to watch him work a match. That match was very good. I really liked it. It was I've liked pretty much everything Roman Reigns has done this year. I think his AJ stuff was better, but I thought they told the story of him being just an asshole the entire match perfectly.
Yeah, and it played into Seth doesn't need to cheat, He's so good, like maybe the best. And he doesn't need to cheat. He just does. He just does because he can. So when you put him in a situation where he can't cheat, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have an easier time beating him. You know, it's you still have to beat Seth Rollins, and that's no small thing.
Yeah, it's a very Ric Flair-esque thing where he was the best, most well-conditioned athlete out there, but he was also a dirtbag jerk who would do pretty much anything to win, and I like that about Seth. I see that as a redeeming quality for him.
Yeah, I mean, even Charlotte is like that, or at least the way they portray her is, you know, like, she doesn't have to cheat. Everyone tries to tell her all the time that she doesn't need to, you know, embrace the Flair legacy. But she's like, yeah, but it's great.
Yeah, definitely not the David Flair legacy. That would be...
Well, all mentions of David Flair are just retconned in WWE anyway, so it's okay.
He's not a former... Was it U.S. champion? I think that's what it was.
Oh, I have no idea. But, you know, they got rid of that, like, one thing they were talking about anyway, so... Dean Ambrose is champ, and I like the way they did it because it's not like a heel move for Ambrose to sneak up behind Seth Rollins and hit him, and it is absolutely not a heel move for him to do it with the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah, it's poetic justice is what it is.
Like, all the terrible things that happened to Dean are before, around, during Money in the Bank.
Yeah, you were one of the first people I saw to mention that. Like, there is a ongoing theme for him at Money in the Bank that he gets screwed over one way or the other, or it doesn't end well for him.
Yeah, Seth turned on him a few weeks before Money in the Bank by attacking him from behind with a chair. Seth cheated to win the Money in the Bank briefcase that should have been Dean's. He used that briefcase to win the championship off of Roman, who is Dean's bud. Then with the same championship, they had that ladder match at Money in the Bank in 2015 where they both hit the ground at like the exact same time-ish, where, you know, Seth hit the ground and gave us those amazing gifs of him celebrating because he's still champion and all that. It's just a whole lot of terrible things happen to Dean, specifically at and around Money in the Banks, involving Seth. So, like, yes, it's a long time later to do this, but it's okay. Like, it's not like the feud ever stopped. They were still talking about how shitty it was to have happen on Monday. And Seth was still gloating about how that was actually the greatest part of being in the Shield, was turning on those guys and then taking his career to the next level. So, yeah, it's still a fresh wound because Seth keeps ripping it open.
Yeah, intentionally so. I also thought it was interesting that how loud the crowd got. I understand that Dean Ambrose is over, but I think sometimes you forget how much a sizable but very specific contingent of the audience hates Roman. Like, they were so happy that was happening. They were like, oh, this is awesome, yo. Like, this is exactly what we want. We hate Roman. I do not understand the "you can't wrestle" chants beyond just being trolls, but I do appreciate the level to which there is genuine distaste for Roman Reigns, because the crowd, once they were so happy when Seth won, and then they were even happier when Dean won. It was just like, awesome. This is two parts removed from Roman, so he's not even going to turn around and get a rematch automatically because of the way that he lost the title. And I think people really, that's part of the reason people got so excited when Dean came down. They're like, oh, cool. There's probably going to be a triple threat because of this, and it also means that we don't have to have the John Cena memorial rematch for the title where I actually get it back.
It helps too that, like, Ambrose is on a very short list of wrestlers that WWE has, where the second they start paying attention to him, and the crowd and the audience at home and everyone realizes that they're paying attention to Dean, any terrible things, any poor booking decisions they made with him are, like, forgotten, and everyone is just all in on him. Ziggler was like that for a while until they pushed that to, like, limits that they never should have pushed it to. But Ambrose is also a really
diplomatic way to put it.
Ambrose is also much more charismatic, is better on the mic, has no alignment confusion issues. And, you know, unlike Ziggler, has actually been like the ultimate world champion for the company now. But he's one of those guys where you use him where you have to use him. He was great. The crowd loved him so much in that feud with Triple H. They wanted him to win the Rumble so bad. Then they wanted him to win at Roadblock so bad. And I think people were giving a lot of credit to Triple H for like pulling that reaction out of the crowd when facing Dean. But like the reaction's there. They're just waiting for an excuse to use it. They love him so much, and you've just beaten them over the head with like having him miss so much that you've made them all think it's never going to happen, and you're wasting him. So then when you finally do, pull the trigger on something, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're not wasting him at all. We love Dean Ambrose." Or you're one of those people who says, "Oh, this is stupid. He should have won like 2 years ago when he was popular." As like the crowd is losing their minds as while things are going on, and freaking out at the beginning of Raw when they see him walk out of a taxi, not even carrying the belt. Yeah, totally. They messed up the timing on this. Definitely.
I love and I've written about this before, the Deadpool moments for Dean are the ones I love the most, where it's like he's not good, and that's part of the charm of Deadpool, is he's not good at being like a superhero. He's just mostly indestructible. Deadpool's superpower more than anything else is his complete inability to give up. And I think Dean also has that at his best, but he's not anything much more than that in terms of a fighter. Like, he can work, he can put you in different wrestling holds, but really his thing is he just keeps coming at you until you physically make him stop. And I think that's why he does so well in the ladder matches, because he's a big dude, but he's willing to just be like, no, I don't know for sure. I don't know his whole oeuvre, but I'm pretty sure he was set on fire at some point when he worked in CCW.
He did lose a nipple. They had to put it back on. They had to just sew that back on. Fought in matches with chainsaws and all kinds of things. Yeah, CCW probably helps you learn some disregard for your body.
And I think it really comes across in matches. Like last night's Money in the Bank ladder match was one of it was closer to the best I'd seen, much closer to the best I'd seen than the worst. It was very high up there. I really liked it. I thought they did a really good job of breaking off people the right way, of giving everybody decent spots. Like even Alberto Del Rio got some run, and you know how much that means to me.
Yeah, I think it helps that they did a really good job of putting together people who have been in feuds for a while, who have some real animosity toward each other, and you were able to pair people off. And it wasn't just like, oh, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have some problems. Like Jericho can't stop rolling his eyes at Sami Zayn. Dean Ambrose is just kind of disconnected from everything except for like, yeah, he hates Jericho, but
And that's a really important connection. I thought that kept him narratively in the match in a way that like he could still be doing stuff with Seth and Roman, but his hatred of Chris Jericho actually paid off. Chris Jericho was great in this match.
Smashing the ladder against him while repeatedly yelling 69 because of the amount of tacks that were in him is so great, and also makes for a wonderful out of context vine.
69. And that Michinoku driver on the ladder was unreal.
Man. That
man has a family.
There were some brutal moves in that, and I think the Money in the Bank matches, I'm sure there's like been a bad one, but like generally speaking, they're always at least good.
Yes.
Like
even the one Kane one was decent.
And this one was really good. They told a really good story. Everyone got the right amount of focus and attention early on, and they've done enough to show all of these guys as legitimate threats and like being a credible champion, that late in the match, every time someone started to climb the ladder, you were like, this is it. He's going to win. This is the one.
Yeah, because even the guy you'd be most skeptical about would be Alberto Del Rio, but he's the only person in the match that had won the match before and cashed it in. Like they picked the guys in this match perfectly, and it helped that a lot of them are in cross feuds. What I really enjoyed in terms of cross feuds was the Kevin Owens, Alberto Del Rio, Chris Jericho bit with Todd or Tim Phillips or Tyler Phillips.
Oh man, it was so good. Kevin Owens was such like the voice of the internet there, just kind of laying into Jericho and Del Rio for like, what is the deal with your like the canned bullshit that you were always spewing? Why can't you say different things and have you original thoughts?
Oh, you speak Spanish now? No, I know what that word means because he says it all the time.
The like low key best part of that was probably Owens calling him Todd, calling Tom Phillips Todd, and then Jericho just under his breath being like, his name is Tim.
Yes, that was my favorite part. I also like that stupid idiots. It just touches with the grace of an angel that Jericho with the weird hair in WCW and the short shirt.
Oh yeah.
That level of the like running into a wall absurdist humor, just like you're so dumb, and you're just saying the first dumb thing that comes to your mind as a response to any type of stimuli. I love Chris Jericho right now.
Oh, he's great. I mean, even if he had won, I don't think it was the right time, like contextually, but in a vacuum, like Jericho winning Money in the Bank with the work that he's been doing would have been fine. And he would have been hilarious with the briefcase, like aggravating whoever, and he certainly earned it. With like almost everything he's doing, every bump he has taken this year essentially is like, Chris Jericho doesn't need to do that. His legend is assured.
Yeah, I thought they also followed this up really well on Raw in general. Obviously, beyond the Dean Ambrose Money in the Bank cash-in aftermath, Del Rio was hurt, but Cesaro and Owens started their official, it looks like we're destined to do this forever. And I thought Chris Jericho getting time with Shane was really good. I really liked that segment, actually, except for the fact that Shane is still just dog shit on the mic. He's so bad. He's
really bad. It like, at least Stephanie wasn't there to make him look even worse. Because God, Stephanie got all of the mic skills.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not even that he's messing up complicated things. He's messing up like not even names, but normal turns of phrase. He's just like stumbling all over.
You need to go to the what's this room we're in? The office. Yeah, stay in my office. Do that.
God, but
are we done? Can we get that again?
It's live, Shane. Are you sure you don't want to? Oh, you can't. You can't do SmackDown.
I'm gonna go to SmackDown. Well, that's live too now.
Oh, gee, that's why he's pushing so hard for SmackDown. Nobody's told him it's also gonna be live. That's the one thing holding me back from. I really hope. First of all, we talked about this last week. I really wanted them to keep Corporate Kane. He's my favorite person they've ever had on the show ever. I have his mug at my office. He's the best. But I am really nervous that they're going to expect Shane to carry a show by himself.
I don't know if Shane is going to have either of the shows, honestly. I feel like if he runs one, he might appoint someone to run it for him. But like Stephanie's going to have to make some power play at some point. Like she's been playing nice and she has been getting along. But like if she's going to get pushed out of running anything by herself, like isn't that time for Triple H to show up again?
I think so. I think that would have to be the case. I thought he was going to show up, like I said last week, during the main event of this show, but that did not happen. So I don't know when he's going to show up. I would assume it'd have to be the draft. But I'm interested in the how they reconcile the fact that Shane can't talk directly into a microphone without like poop landing on the. He's so bad. It's some of the worst. It's like watching Jack Tunney cut a promo directly into a camera on a pre-tape. Like you're like, you had chances to do this over and over again, and that's what you came up with. Like that's kind of what it feels like when Shane does live, where it's like serviceable, but you've done this before. Why are you just having such trouble on backstage segments? Sorry, I could spend a very long time talking about how much I hate Shane talking right now.
we should go back to the pay-per-view.
Yes, we should. And we should mention in passing how great Rusev is.
Oh man, Oh man, Rusev is so great. Like, I don't know if his Twitter game is stronger than Kevin Owens' Twitter game, but like they are clearly 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think the thing with Kevin Owens is that's not a character. I feel like Rusev is doing something in character. I think Kevin Owens is actually just like that as a human being.
Man, Rusev, like, beating Titus and then going to the kids and telling them Happy Father's Day, your father's a loser, that's amazing. But the next day to go on Twitter and say that
they've lost respect for you. They don't call you dad anymore. Now Titus. Not even you call me daddy now, which would be the low-hanging fruit. He went for they disrespect you at such a level. You are now their peer. That's how much I've destroyed you. And the follow-up, I mean, other than the work in the actual ring, was really good. Like, Titus, fired up, worked really well for me.
Yeah, I mean, Titus, hot tag Titus in that last run with the Primetime Players was so great. So great. Just for destruction with anything that he touched, came near, whatever. So being able to tap into that kind of guy in his singles career will allow him to have a singles career. So like, I'm excited for a rematch now. I kind of thought this was going to be one and done until like we find the next Rusev thing. And I still think Rusev's going to be the guy holding the belt after the end of Battleground or whatever. But like, I'm down for a rematch. I want to see fired up Titus have to face Rusev and get a match with a whole lot more clubbing happening.
I had originally hoped that the next feud for Rusev was going to be with the New Day, but I will take a Titus interlude because I like you said, I don't think Titus is going to win a Battleground, but I definitely think the match is going to be awesome in terms of like a Haas fight where they just throw each other into each other. And I love that the Rusev getting clothesline and it sounds like the nuclear bomb is going off is now a running spot for him outside where they run into people. They like run into each other and make a very loud noise.
Oh, that's so great.
Reversing what we've been doing. But the AJ apology to Cena, I hated Cena's part of it. But AJ's part, along with the club, was great.
I enjoyed the existence of Cena's part of the apology just because it's like he was mad that his reaction was anticipated. And
yeah.
he didn't have a backup plan, so he was just like, this is bullshit, guys. Your apology is stupid. This is stupid. I mean, you could tell no one was sincere. You could tell that too. So I understand Cena being mad about that too, but he's just like, you took away my talking points, and I don't appreciate it. Now I'm going to talk about balls.
Oh God, it just makes me stop talking about other people's genitalia. It's a weird thing.
I'm telling you, it's just he's got to do it. He has to do it the same way that The Rock has to tell you all the time that he has sex with women.
Yeah, why can't you just say guts? I don't get it. You don't have to say balls. There is another perfectly suitable word for... I
wish a crowd would start chanting balls after he says balls sometime. Just like, so then it just becomes it's clear how absurd it is when in an arena with 14,000 people and are just like, balls, balls, balls.
There's a book I had to read in high school named An American Childhood. And in that book, it's by Andy Dillard, and in that book, there's a scene where the grandpa just says balls over and over again. Balls for hello and balls good for goodbye. That's like the line, and that's what I think of every time I hear John Cena say balls. Is balls? He said balls for hello and balls for goodbye, because it's such a meaningless thing to say at this point. And I was very happy, especially after the match they had, which was just awesome. I liked that we thought they were both going to play it as him just being like, oh man, I can't... Him being genuinely annoyed that the club had interfered, as opposed to mildly like, come on guys, you actually did give him an excuse, but I can't stay mad at you. Like, I thought... I like the idea that they're not necessarily... I get the feeling that legitimately wasn't what AJ wanted, but after it happened, he was like, I don't care. I don't care. I won.
I still won.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And I think that's what the apology played perfectly, was just the idea that, like, no, he gets that beating John Cena is the thing that matters. How you do it matters significantly less. I think the part of the, like, hero's folly, or, like, the hubris of trying to beat John Cena is just trying to do it his way. Doing it in a way that you actually, like, overcome him. And the only people that are successful against him are the ones that are like, no, I'm just going to beat you. Because that's the point of the match, is for me to win and for you to lose. I don't care about the rest. You can make fun of my manhood all you want. It's not going to work because I'm here sitting in the winner circle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think AJ has perfectly encapsulated that character. And he can actually go, because the stuff they were doing in that match, it was one of the few times he almost, like, brocked him. He almost just beat him up the entire match.
I really enjoyed that. Like, Cena has been praising Styles in his career and, like, the legacy he has outside of WWE. But even with all that, he clearly underestimated just how good and inventive and smart Styles is as a performer. He just couldn't figure out a way to stop him. But on the flip side of that, Styles, for all of that greatness he has around him and all his ability to keep Cena from hurting him, he could not figure out how to put him away, which is, like, what makes Cena so great. And I don't know, you hear that, you know, Cena's going to win. Cena always wins. And it gets to the point where, like, maybe you lose in translation why Cena wins, but it's because he's impossible to put away. You know, he like you said with Ambrose earlier, where he just doesn't stay down. Like, that's a legit thing with Cena. The whole hustle, loyalty, respect thing is not, like, the never give up. That is him in the ring, and it's not just like on his t-shirt. So seeing it play out in a match where they both understood each other better by the end of the match is fascinating, because it means the next time we see them face each other, it's going to be completely different, because now they know who the other one is and they know what they have to watch them for.
Yeah, definitely. I thought they had just enough wiggle room with this ending that even I'm actively excited to see the match from purely, like, a narrative standpoint, on top of the fact that I just want to see this match again because people want to see sequels to movies they like. Like, I am actually interested to see how far they push AJ Styles just knowing the direction Cena's going to go, from, like, a promo standpoint, and then in the ring being not quite, like, he is one piece away, and it's the hardest piece to get, but he's one piece away from putting the whole thing together and, like, unlocking John Cena, he feels like, and John Cena's just trying to keep his head above water. It felt like, at least in this match, for most of it. And that is a dynamic you only saw, for me, at least in terms of what I can think of, with Brock. Like, it's a completely different way to dominate John Cena, but I think John Cena is most interesting when he's being beaten by somebody who's clearly, like, a half a step ahead of him, because of the never give up thing.
Yeah, I mean, Styles and Brock are two of the only guys who have been able to make Cena look a little old and desperate.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah,
that old man clothesline that he hit on AJ late in the match that just spun him in an infinite loop, like, that's when you know Cena has hit that point where he's like, oh shit, I have to do something that I don't usually, you know, I have to go into this other gear that I have that I only take out in these situations. And, you know, the first time him and Brock met, he couldn't even get into that gear because he didn't know he needed it, and by the time he knew he needed it, like, he didn't remember where he was.
Yeah, he was dead.
But the second time he faced Brock, and, you know, he still lost, like, he was able to hold his own to a degree, but it's still Brock, you know. But with Styles, you know, as great as Styles is, he's not Brock. So Cena was able to, hate to even say the word, but Cena was able to overcome, you know, the kind of early hole that Styles put him in, and, you know, kind of bring it back to the even. And, you know, you could count, if you apply a count that the ref wasn't able to because the ref was knocked out, well, you know, Cena won that match, but he didn't.
And I thought that was a really good job by JBL to push back against the idea that John Cena had the match won. I thought, and I said this to you right after, I thought JBL did a really good job of articulating an actual argument for people to be pissed about it, but also that AJ didn't necessarily lose the match. He just won it in a crappy way.
Yeah, like something had been taken from all of us because AJ didn't want the club there. Cena didn't want the club there. The crowd was promised a match without the club there, and then the club was there.
And I thought to go back to Raw, the like constantly checking, just knowing that he was going to come out, they were going to come out. It was just like literally how much run they were going to give him against Anderson. I thought it was a really interesting way to do a really obvious, they're going to come out. It was just like I like the idea of those three just ruining John Cena's life through like WrestleMania. That'd be great. I would be so happy if that's where this is going, is some sort of big blow-off match where John Cena and AJ Styles do something ridiculous, and for the first 8 months preceding it, it's just him being tortured by these three jerks who will just not leave him alone. I that would make me so happy, because I just love when people annoy John Cena over and over and over again, but it like the edge way of like it's actually having an advantage over him. It's a really interesting place for John Cena to be, for me anyways.
It also, I mean, it fits in with that idea that we've been thinking, which is that Styles and Cena are going to be together on one of the shows, and that will be like the central feud, even if it's not for a title, you know?
Yes, exactly. So, as great as that match was, we should probably move on to Apollo Crews versus Sheamus, this match was good. I was surprised at I guess I wasn't surprised at the ending, in the sense that from the idea that he just underestimated Crews, it worked, but I just don't know if Crews looked good enough leading up to it for that to really... I almost feel like he should have beaten him with a big move that Sheamus didn't see coming, as opposed to just like that roll-up.
Well, it was a crucifix roll-up, which helps, because that's the smart kind of roll-up. It's not a cheap one. You literally can't kick out of this roll-up. It's like you don't have control of either of your arms. Have fun with this. I'm very strong. They wrestled it like a match that made it clear that there were going to be more matches in the feud. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, but it's like they didn't leave everything on the table. It was Sheamus probably underestimating Crews a bit, and Crews kind of in a feeling out period, trying to deal with what Sheamus was doing. I assume when they have a rematch, there'll be a lot harder moves and bigger moves, as Sheamus kind of comes out full force trying to get his win back, and Crews tries to adapt to that and realizes he really has to tap into like the best parts of himself to take out Sheamus, because he's not going to underestimate him again, even if he doesn't respect him.
I was interested, though I guess it was a pretty full show. They didn't really follow up with this that much. At least I didn't remember. Yeah, looking through what happened. I wonder how they're going to start slotting feuds for the draft. In other words, are they going to start putting Sheamus and Apollo Crews, let's say, on SmackDown with the idea that both of those guys are going to get drafted to SmackDown? So even if they don't continue feuding, is this something that they're going to be like, oh, you've seen these guys, you both like them, they used to fight each other, now they fight other people? Or do you think they're just they don't have any clue who's getting drafted to what, and they're just kind of throwing stuff on whatever show makes the most sense?
I'm assuming they know who is going where generally, or who's going together, even if they don't necessarily know who's going to what show, because I'm sure they're plotting out to a degree, not everything they're going to do, but like just far enough in advance to be like, okay, this is how we'll have things converge at SummerSlam, and this is how we'll go beyond that, and we have some ideas for like feuds we want to do like now. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sheamus and Apollo Crews on SmackDown. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be on SmackDown, but there's probably something to the idea of like let's tell certain stories on Monday right now, and let's tell certain stories on Thursdays right now, and get people used to the idea for the next month of like, you will see different stuff.
Yeah, different stuff. We're gonna see what works and what does. It's almost like preseason. It feels like, in a weird way, where there are a couple of big storylines right now, but a lot of the stuff, like actually to go to the next match, or the previous match on the card, as it were, Charlotte and Dana versus Natalya and Becky on Raw. They definitely did some work with both of these, and they're expanding the women's division for the first time in a while to 2 separate storylines. Like, it's back to a more robust division. I didn't love this match. I like the ending. I like the storyline. I like the turn. Though I don't love heel Natalya. It's mostly weird to me.
I think she's tired of being a mother to the rest of the division. She's tired of being the mentor, trying to help everyone, get here. And she hasn't, she lost multiple title opportunities to Charlotte. And now she's here losing a tag match to Charlotte, and there was a little miscommunication. So I think it's just a lot of built-up frustration. So, we'll see how far she kind of takes it. Like, how heel is she willing to go? Or is this just temporary frustration, and she's already, she's committed to taking it out on Becky until she feels better? But man, I'm excited to see Becky and Natalya, go at it in the ring.
Yeah, from an in-ring standpoint, it's going to be awesome. I guess it's a testament to Becky, because she's so likable that when Natalya attacked her backstage, I was like, this is just mean. Like, she was going out of her way to just be like, listen, I'm just moving on. I'm not. And Natalya attacked her from behind. It's like, oh, is that a good enough reason? And she's like, I was kind of over it, but now you're just being a jerk. I worry about her mic skills, because I like Natalya. I'm not as high as other people are on her in the ring. I don't know what it is. I'm a bad person, is what it is. But I'm very excited to see what Becky does with her. And for Charlotte and Dana, Paige was Paige. She was Paigey. But then there was Sasha, which was awesome.
She decked Dana. Oh my god. Like, Dana just crumpled up. That was great, by both of them. Sasha comes out after that match Charlotte and Paige had to, stake her claim to wanting the title from Charlotte. And Dana, of course, goes out like the best protege in the world that she is. And she took a Sasha fist to the face, and she just folded, crumpled up Sasha's hand.
Yeah, it was pretty wonderful, and it's really great to have Sasha back, especially because they're probably going to build towards another tag team match at Battleground, one would assume, and a singles match between Becky and Natalya at Battleground, one assumes, which is pretty good. And then you get Charlotte and Sasha, again, one assumes, for SummerSlam. That's a pretty good idea for the next 3 months for a division. Plus, Bayley's coming up sooner rather than later, though I think it'll be after SummerSlam. But
yeah, I'm not sure when Bayley comes up, but I bet you she is Becky's finally friend, like the one who won't turn on her.
And then Becky turns on her because Becky's a monster.
Becky better not turn on her. But no, I think they set up Becky to be the one who everybody turns on, so I feel like her and Bayley will have an. Yeah, and I mean, Bayley is also Sting, essentially. So, can 2 Stings coexist? I mean, they did in WCW, but that's because one of them was fake.
I actually respectfully disagree with you on your assessment of Bayley. I think Bayley was beaten up so much that it's not that she's not trusting, but she has 2 real friends that she in storyline and in real life cares about. And then outside of that, she's just kind of nah, we can be friendly, but I don't trust you. And I think that's better than Becky, who's oh, you want to be friends? Cool, we can be friends and we'll make puns together. No one wants to make puns with you, Becky. They're just using you to beat you up from behind.
Bayley will want to make puns with her. Everything will be okay when Bayley shows up. They're going to be friends. They're going to have slap bracelets. It's going to be great.
Sorry, I'm just imagining them just hanging out in the back doing slap bracelets.
Slap bracelets and puns. It's going to be lit.
That's what. Yeah, it's gonna be lit. That's the word I would use. So
I own slap bracelets of Bailey's, by the way. We bought them at the NXT LOL show because they were like $3 and they gave you 3 of them, and there were 3 of us. So it was like
best deal in the WWE shop. It's by
yeah,
far.
It's like I'm gonna get these, and then we're just like and slap. And my friend didn't know, so we just walked up to him and was like, "Hey, hold your arm out." He's like, "What?" Slap. Oh.
Fun.
It was all fun.
So how much time do we? Because we're running low and we still have to get to New Day at all. How much time do we want to spend on Baron Corbin / Dolph Ziggler?
It's over. I like Baron Corbin. They're not fighting anymore. Hooray!
I have one question. Is Baron Corbin still underrated at this point? Or is everyone aware that he's awesome?
I think he's underrated. I think people... I'm sure there are people who really like Ziggler who are not aware that Corbin pulled an interesting match out of him. And not to say Ziggler didn't help at all, but the best kind of matches are the ones where both people are doing their part. And Corbin has gotten to that point where he can do his part. He doesn't need someone like Ziggler to walk him through things.
Yes, I totally.
He's fully capable of running the match and really looking legitimate, and that's a huge step up from where he was a while ago. But yeah, it's time for something new for him in literally every way possible.
Yeah, and actually I'd be fine with it being Zack Ryder, though I feel like that would be a slight, and no offense to Zack Ryder, just Dolph Ziggler is a multi-time world champion and one of the most decorated champions in WWE right now, where Zack Ryder is, the woo-woo-woo guy.
Did you know that Ziggler is a tag team title away from Grand Slam?
I did not know that.
Because the big gold belt is part of the WWE Championship now.
Yes.
He is a tag title away from a Grand Slam.
So you're saying U.S. title, Intercontinental title, tag title, world title?
Yep.
I don't recognize that as a Grand Slam. The only true Grand Slam is the European Championship. But, you can have your false prophets, Mark. You can.
Well, the European Championship is gone, so let's see it try and defend itself.
It will. Europe will always defend itself. I think that's what we learned in several World Wars.
I think it's part of the Intercontinental. Not that it's on it, but you know what? It's a continent.
That's irrefutable, actually. Antarctica less irrefutable, but Europe definitely a continent. So the final match, very briefly, let's go over Golden Truth Breezango in the sense that that was really weird makeup, but Breezango is awesome, and Golden Truth is less awesome, but still awesome.
Golden Truth is funny. They're great. I love the fact they exist for promos and vignettes. I don't really care about them in the ring right now, which is weird because I like R-Truth and I like Goldust. Goldust is 47 years old and he's still, great in a ring. But yeah, Breezango they are the stars of this. And if they are the great thing that comes out of the existence of Golden Truth, perfect.
And that t-shirt. That Golden Truth t-shirt is, as you would say, lit.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about the kickoff match. I don't even want to.
Okay, I was going to say, speaking of lit, this match should have been lit on fire, but that's mean.
It was nice that Kalisto got time to spin and flip and be cool. That's good, but the rest of it I don't really care about.
Yeah, literally the rest of the entire thing, it's useless. No offense, but it's cool that the Dudleys are still on television. Outside of that, Kalisto got run. That was it. We
didn't talk about the Fatal 4-Way.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to last.
Sorry.
It's totally fine. Yeah, the New Day won in a match that we both thought that Anderson and Gallows were going to win, but considering what happened Monday night, it totally makes sense that they didn't. That
sure was a good match for the first 2/3 of it.
Yeah, and then it just went to shit. Out of this match, it's interesting to think that you're probably going to have 2 future world champions. Because Big Cass, every time that guy goes out there, looks like $1 million. And he's protected, sure, but he also delivers. He's just a good worker and a great worker for a guy his size.
Yeah, he's really improved. I remember, man, he was so raw back when NXT was on Hulu. He's just so raw in the ring. He was big, and he was he had the size, but he had not filled out. He hadn't spent all that time in the Performance Center yet.
Yes.
And he's really just he's gotten buff, and he is huge, and he is believable as just this gigantic presence. And, you know, he delivers in the ring, too. He knows how to be a hot tag. He's a great hot tag. And, you know, he can believably put away people in no time. I'll be interested to see him in longer matches someday. But, yeah, he definitely looks like, hey, this is a future world champ. And they keep talking about him, and he just looks like a guy who's way too good for the tag division.
Wholeheartedly agree, except for the fact that he's working with... If he wasn't working with Enzo, it would already feel like he has one of his feet out the door. But the fact that he's working with Enzo, who is as transcendent a mic talent as he is a physical talent, it is a great place for them to be.
Enzo and Kofi chain wrestling to start off that match.
And Enzo can actually, along the same lines, Enzo's when he first started out, he was okay. He's turned into a good worker and a great seller. He's really, really gotten into the psychology of a tag match. Interested to him talking on the Austin podcast about it. It was really interesting. Just his goal is to just get all of the heat possible and then bring in Big Cass. So it's really good for Cass to just get that fire going. So the crowd only sees... In that sense, he's very protected. But that's a conscious decision by his teammate, not necessarily the company. And I think that's a huge difference, is that Enzo knows better than the company does when it's time for Big Cass to shine. And I think he'll eventually, like you said, get more and more in the actual tag matches themselves, because he's big enough that he can work against two guys. He's done it before. And this match, like you said, it was really good for the first 8-9 minutes, and then it went. That ending was not fluid. Fluid is the word.
I mean, they pinned Aiden English, who I'm not 100% convinced was legal or in the match anymore. And Aiden just kind of laid there for 2 minutes while they fought around him.
Yeah, like a dead extra in a movie.
He knew he wasn't supposed to get up, but everything else was missed around it. I will say, out of the confusion, Big E just deadlifting, was it Anderson he lifted off the pin and then big ending him was awesome. Just bending down and picking up a 200 plus pound dude, throwing him on his shoulder and being like, you don't pin anyone.
I am so excited for the feud that they started last night, which I actually thought was also one of their better promos with New Day and the Wyatt family. They're really perfectly suited to deal with the Wyatt family. And I like that they occasionally dip into this idea of the power of positivity as an actual thing for them and not just something they said at the beginning when they were supposed to be faces.
Yeah.
It's a real thing that they're trying to do as their characters. It's bring fun to the show, and the Wyatts stand opposed to that, and I thought that was an interesting direction to go with it. No, dude, you guys are kind of bummers. Just be fun. And Bray being I'm going to murder you with my bare hands. And they're like, you're crazy. You're just crazy. I also really, really love the idea of Xavier Woods, even more so than Enzo and Xavier, Bray and Xavier going back and forth, because part of Bray's thing is he's supposed to be this not smart, but cerebral kind of speaker, and Xavier Woods has a PhD. So I think it'll be a different dichotomy than Enzo and Xavier, who's they're just two dudes freestyle making fun of each other. I think there's going to be two different... I'm really interested to see the dynamic between Bray and Xavier on the mic and Big E and Bray in the ring.
And, I mean, that's if Xavier even gets to talk. He looked a little hypnotized on Monday. Drawn into the power of the cult there.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of that. They've really started to hone in on what makes them work as a comedy team, and I laughed several times last night. And I'm not a laugher. I don't feel joy in my heart for anything. So
this feels like a situation where New Day could retain a Battleground, And then, like, when's Luke Harper supposed to come back?
6 years from now, I think.
Ugh, it's not that long, is it?
It's a while. I think it's 6 months. He blew it out like 2 months ago. So
well, that crushes my dreams of, like, Luke Harper returns for the Bray being like, actually, this is the Wyatt family tag team.
Yeah, I told you, I hope this does it. I would have been much more okay with Anderson and Gallows getting it than Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman. Because they're getting close to the record. It seems like a weird team to have go over, but if Luke Harper came back, and even if they did Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, it'd be fine. But, like, this Rowan-Strowman team, I think is just going to... I wonder how long this feud is going to last, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to find more for Big E to do than be a tag champion, too. He really feels like the guy who should be taking the U.S. title off of Rusev. And it doesn't have to be now, because Rusev's amazing and he should hold it for a while. But, like, by WrestleMania season, New Day as tag team champion should be, like, a forgotten thing. And they can still exist. But, like, Big E should start his move toward bigger and better things, because Big E is amazing. And, you know, let's get some fresh matchups. Like, as great as the other tag teams are, it'll still be just cycling through tag teams. And, like, you know, all great things must, you know, end eventually in wrestling, no matter how good they are. Like, the Shield broke up at the peak of their powers when they were at their most popular as a face team. And I'm not suggesting the New Day break up. Just, like, let's change what you're doing. Let's move on to the next thing soon. Yeah. I don't know if the Wyatts are the team to lose to. Maybe the Wyatts are the team to lose to, though. They've never had the tag titles, not in the main roster. You know, Harper and Rowan were tag champs in NXT, but, you know, maybe yeah, they were tag champs and then they got called up.
Yeah, like bye. Speaking of NXT champions, we're going a little long, so we're just going to really quickly go over the first 3 parts of last week's NXT, which was the Authors of Pain squash match, which is, they seem like they can go, which is good. They don't seem like mind-blowing in the ring, but they seem good.
You don't want to show everything you can do against the jobbers whose names might not even be correct on their trunks either.
Might not be correct in their trunks?
They didn't even get like, the whatever jobber team they faced, they didn't get an entrance. Like, no one knew what their names were, and since we don't know what the names of the Authors of Pain are yet, it was just 2 guys trying to announce around a ring with 4 people in it, where the only person whose name they knew was the manager.
Yeah. Small guy getting attacked by big guy who tags other big guy. Yeah, that was really the only difference. Kathy Kelly is a 6, so we know that now. Thanks, Ty Dillinger.
I was going to say, give that some context.
Yeah, we're not saying she's a 6. Ty Dillinger is saying he's a 6.
Which was, what was Alex?
3.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, he was a 3. Okay, so she's twice as good. Or is this like the Richter scale?
I'd like to think it's the Richter scale, because that
I would too, because then Ty as a 10 is just that much more impressive.
Yeah. Take off half the world, basically.
If Ty were an earthquake, he would end civilization.
Yep. That's his motto, actually, has been for years.
T-shirt incoming.
Then they had a match after Almas and Ty, had a match after the interview backstage. It was what it was last time. I like Almas. He's not, like, blowing my mind. At least in the sense, I don't think they're giving him a chance to blow my mind, though. I think he's very good.
Yeah.
I think they're holding back. He looks a little too funk for me right now with those pants, but I think I can get over it.
Give it time.
Then there's Tessa versus Carmella. Tessa, I like that she doesn't understand Carmella's catchphrase.
It was the most brilliant heel thing, or just straight up not understanding. But I think it was, given this is a Blanchard we are talking about, I assume it was brilliant healing.
And as far as Carmella goes, she's okay. There are certain things about her I really like. She's a little too I don't know how to put it. She's a little
active.
Active. There's a little too much going on. There's too much celebrating in a way that's not ironic and not going to end with you getting clotheslined by the heel. You're just kind of running around the ring celebrating too much. It felt weird. I wasn't like angry at it. It just felt like a little much for a relatively meaningless match, unless it was going somewhere.
It reminds me of when Alexa Bliss used to be a face and she just did too many things in her entrance. Yes. And you were like, okay, you got to pick something and pick the timing. And it's fine. So it's really just something where someone's going to watch that back and be like, Carmella, moonwalk twice per match, not 17 times. And that's it. Like that. Like once that happens, like it's over. It's done. You'll never remember that it was that way. I mean, Becky, when she first came to NXT, remember the crazy river dancing that she did way too much of? And then it's like someone watched that back and went, yeah, never do that again.
Look at my face. This is not good.
And then that was that. Then we didn't get any more river dancing Becky Lynch.
We have the end of, I don't know how to tell you this, but it looks like we have the end of Murphy and Blake. Which...
Oh.
Moment of silence?
No.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, I like them plenty, and their run as tag team champs was fine, but, you know, any concern I had about those two being split up was, like, put to rest. Like, the second Alexa left them, I was like, oh, that's good for them. Yes. But they are also, and I do not mean this in an insulting way, they feel very much like a tag team who sticks around NXT, or just guys who stick around NXT. And like when they're not a tag team, they're going to be, these are the guys who have been around NXT forever. You know them. We can put new talent against them, and we know we'll get a match of like X quality.
Yes, they're the Crash Davises of Crash Davi of NXT, which is not a bad place to be. That should be their goal. Is all-time home run king for NXT.
They're the kind of guys who should be replacing, you know, Ty Dillinger as like live special enhancement talent.
Yes.
That sort of situation, because like they can both work, and they both, you know, they're good on a mic and they have character. It's just like the tag team ran its course, and that's okay. You know, that's people probably aren't going to buy tickets to go see them necessarily at like a house show or whatever, but they're gonna buy tickets to see the guys they're gonna face, and someone needs to face them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a good hand, and they're both good hands.
Mm-hmm.
The best hand, though, best transition ever, is.
I'm gonna cut you off. No more transitions.
Nakamura versus Finn was awesome. Holy shit. No, you effed up chant, but pretty much every other chant I can think of that NXT would throw out would work for this. This was really great. I talked to you about this before. The one thing that's weird is watching Nakamura, and even a guy like Finn, who's like a great performer and a future world champion and an NXT champion. When you're watching Nakamura, it feels like you're watching a special cultural thing, like a guy who's going to be important in the history of wrestling in a way that Finn's going to be. It's the difference between LeBron and Carmelo or Dwayne Wade. They're like really great players that are Hall of Famers, but I think Nakamura has a chance to be like a once-in-a-lifetime performer for the WWE. So I guess what I'm saying is that I wish it were a bigger star that... No, I'm kidding. I think this will be an interesting way to basically push Finn out of NXT, but at the same time get to see him do it against a guy who just feels better than him. Like, I feel like the end of this match is inevitable in a way that it shouldn't be. I guess that'd be my only gripe, but...
Well, I mean, it felt that way for Sami Zayn, too.
That is true.
Like, as much as we love Sami Zayn, it's like, even if we didn't think Zayn was going to the main roster forever at the end of that match, it still felt like, oh man, Sami Zayn is going to get his head kicked in. Like, that's a shame. I'll miss him when he's gone.
I'll miss his head when it's gone.
But that should be Nakamura's role too. Is until like they're gonna put the title on him, if they put the title on him. But like, let him keep just kneeing our favorites out of NXT and onto the main roster
with no hard feelings. Just have it be guys that he respects and actually wants to work with, not just.
Yeah, just
random
go
dudes.
dream match.
Yes.
Dream match. dream match, and just not keeps winning all of them because, like I've said before, he should never lose in NXT.
Ever. I wonder, do you think this match is going to be the takeover match, or the next takeover match, or do you think it's going to be one of those NXT, we're going to build towards it for a month and actually have it at Full Sail because we love the Full Sail audience enough to do that, or do you think they actually write it out till...
Brooklyn is NXT's WrestleMania. So, like, I know they ran a show before Mania this year, but it was not in a venue with 14,000 seats.
In New York, where literally every single person in that audience is like the biggest NXT fan in the country.
So that's their huge event, and
I guess
there is
question about that: would they do Joe Nakamura, or that you think they're waiting even longer for that?
I think Joe Nakamura is probably the special after that. You give Joe a long enough time with the belt, let him have some other opponents that aren't Nakamura. Triple H said it's coming. So, maybe that's the one where Joe loses the title. And then Joe moves up to SmackDown or Raw just in time for the road to WrestleMania, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And we're going to finish up with Lucha, as we always do. This match was an episode-long match between Johnny Mundo, Phoenix, Pentagon Jr., Taya, Ivelisse, and King Cuerno. Those are my impressions. They were excellent, I thought. You know what? I'm trying my best.
Yeah. So did the people in this match. So did the people in this match who weren't Pentagon Jr. And look what that got them.
Yeah, nowhere. Where you going? Nowhere. I really, 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 really loved the King Cuerno result for this match, which I don't know if I've ever been more excited for a match between a hunter, a redneck Mexican hunter, and a undead zombie in my entire life, and I've seen a lot of those matches.
Yeah, I'm excited for the match, but there's still that part of me going like, I want King Cuerno to do something where he wins. That would be nice, because he's Cuerno's not gonna beat Mortez 3.0. That's even better than 2.0.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I just want to see him do the arrow from the depths of hell through into someone and send them to hell, and I think that's only a possibility with Mil Muertes.
He'll just come back. What's the point?
I also loved in this match how much Johnny and Taya worked together. It really
yes,
made me feel differently in a good way about their relationship and the characters themselves. And I thought Taya did a really great job of, and Ivelisse too. And I think that Lucha does such a good job outside of the commentary of integrating female performers into matches, and this was perhaps the best example. They looked great. They looked completely 100% like they had a chance to win. It was, I thought everybody in this match was exceptional, but I really thought, especially with the Johnny and Taya stuff, I thought Taya and Ivelisse were probably the two best over, for me, the two performers that showed me the most out of everybody, other than maybe Mundo. But that was more of like a character depth thing than actual, because I've seen Phoenix and Pentagon and they're always awesome, but I was anticipating Taya and Ivelisse doing really well in this match, and I thought they did. I thought they did a very, very good job in this match.
Yeah, it was great. It was just kind of it felt from the beginning that this was going to be Pentagon's time, and not in a way that was detrimental to everyone else, because everyone else certainly gave amazing performances and had convincing moments where it seemed like they were really going to win. But could you believe any of them beating Matanza? Like, Pentagon's the only one with a shot, right?
Yeah.
And even that's debatable.
And, well, I mean, Eve Lee's had a good run against her.
Oh, that was against Mortis.
Oh, God, yeah, you're totally right.
Who lost to Matanza, so...
Yes, yeah, you're totally right. Sorry, my big giant monster demon animals. I confuse them sometimes. I did like the way that they constructed the eliminations, too. I thought they told the eliminations in an interesting way. I thought for an hour-long episode, which they've done hour-long episodes, but for an hour-long episode, they have really started to get the beats of how to keep a match that long, that interesting.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to Ultimate Lucha Dos soon, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be 3 parts. Like, I have to double check that. I'm afraid to Google too much information about Ultima Lucha because it's just going to spoil me.
Yeah, I like what
that is full of Ultima Lucha spoilers.
Jerks. That's what they are. They're jerks. I look forward to both. I mean, I look forward to every Lucha, but I look forward to them just turning it up to 12 or 15 or whatever they're going to be turning it up to for the next couple of weeks as they build up to that. Because I think Ultima Lucha Dos is could end up being the show of the year. Because this season, to me, has been not like light years ahead of the first season, but they've really come together on a lot of different levels in this season. I'm really excited for Ultimate Lucha and the build to it. I look forward to talking about it for the next couple of weeks.
Same.
So we're going to finish with our recurring, which we missed last week, feature, which is what we're going to watch. What we did watch. We watched Money in the Bank, or I watched Money in the Bank this weekend, just to rub it into Roman Reigns. I'm going to rewatch the WrestleMania 31 main event, just over and over again for the entire weekend. I'm just going to have it on a loop, because I just want to see his face when he finds out he's going to be cashed in on, and I also just want to see Brock beat the crap out of him for like 20 minutes. Not because I'm mad at him, it's just... I just want to see him suffer. That's not weird, right?
No, it's not. I watched... I had a friend over this weekend, and he's been watching WCW pay-per-views like in order. I think I don't remember what year he started in, but so he's in 1997. So we watched the last hour and a half of Fall Brawl, and then Halloween Havoc, which, man, that starts out so great and just goes to hell. Like, that is one of the ones where if you play a Hogan drinking game, you will die before the main event. Just do a shot. Every time someone asks where Hogan is, where's Poochie, they asked. Oh, it's just so terrible. But it had Big Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in the match where Rey would lose his mask if he lost. And that is worth watching again and again and again forever. And it's things like that remind me of why I bother to go back to WCW pay-per-views in the first place.
That and
just
Bad
not
at the Beach.
Just not after a certain time.
Yeah. Oh God. We watched. I was doing another podcast with my friends of bad wrestling pay-per-views. We watched the one where Vince Russo goes off. That thing from beginning to end is just the worst kind of mediocre to bad, where it's just like you don't care about anything that's happening, and the work is just good enough that you have to pay attention. You can't just write it off completely. WCW pay-per-views. That one's a good one. There's some real stinkers, but that one's a relatively good one. So I'm glad you got to watch one that was good. And are you gonna continue watching them this weekend, or do you have anything in mind for this weekend?
No, that's my friend's crusade. I already started with the one, like when the network first happened. That's the first thing I did essentially after I watched a couple like scattered matches. Was I haven't seen most of these WCW pay-per-views, or I when I saw them was when I was like 10. So like I'm gonna go back and watch these or see them for the first time. And I started before Hogan got there, before Hogan turned. And I can't remember exactly what year or pay-per-view it was where I quit, but the Wolfpack existed. And I was just like, man, fuck this. I am out. I am done. Like, I'm paying $10 a month for this. I understand I'm having it on in the background while I'm at work or whatever. I don't need this. I don't need this in my life. Because it's just that point where it's like, it gets worse from here. And that's really the thing, is where there's so much good in those pay-per-views. And then you see stuff where you're like, oh, why didn't this guy get pushed more? Why didn't this happen this way? And then the whole time you're having these conversations, all you hear in the background is Hogan, 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 Hogan. It's just so off-putting and awful. I will say one gem that came out of it is there was on this Halloween Havoc, there was Meng and Barbarian versus Canyon and Wrath, I think, was the match. And it was like, as we were watching it, we realized that this is the match that Chikara is based on. Like, all of it, the whole idea of Chikara. It's just based on this match. You're like, okay, so you've got Meng and Barbarian, who have these like kind of basic like, oh, they're like the scary foreigner guys, and then you've got Wrath and Canyon, who are just like fucking Mortal Kombat characters because WCW had that period of time. And like, as me and my friend are having this conversation about how we realize like Chikara is based on this specific match, and Chikara is great. I love Chikara, but it is that over the top like ridiculousness. Someone did whatever the move Ants Go Marching is called, back in like 1997. Mm-hmm. I was just laughing like, oh my god, it really is. Chikara really did base it on this. Like, the entire colony is based figured all from this. It's like, we've cracked the code, Chikara. We've cracked it. But yeah, man, just a miserable experience after the enjoyable parts.
Yeah, that pay-per-view is to Chikara what Holland 1945 is to In the Airplane Over the Sea. I totally understand. I understand where you're coming from with that, where you're just like, oh, this explains everything.
Yeah.
So we wanted to take this time before we say goodbye to ask for listener questions on Twitter. My Twitter is @TheNixter, that is THEN1CKSTER. That is, I think, 3 weeks in a row I've spelled it right. You can catch me at theclassical.org and at Over the Monster with Mark. Hopefully I will actually be writing something this week, because I'll get an actual night's sleep and can find my laptop.
Yeah.
Do we want them to hashtag anything in particular, like ask Rudo?
No.
Okay.
No, they just tweet it out, and I'm sure we'll remind y'all before we record next week. But if you get us questions in the meantime, we will set them aside and we will answer them. And you can hit me up with those on Twitter at Mark_Normandin, and that is Mark with a C. And otherwise, you can find me at Over the Monster. You can find me at SB Nation MLB, SB Nation /MLB, I should say. If you want to read my more detailed thoughts on Money in the Bank, those are up at sbnation.com/wrestling. And I think we're going to be doing some stuff around the draft at SB Nation, the brand split draft, but that's not for another month. But get excited for that.
And don't forget to check us out on www.soundcloud.com/Rudo Radio and subscribe to us on iTunes. Rate us 5 stars. Great job with the big news for the big dog. That's what I want the review to be. If you're going to give us 5 stars, is great job on the big news for the big dog. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Mark, before we go?
Make sure that you check out khsideseats.com. In addition to sbnation.com/wrestling. And I think that is it.
Bye!